Hello there and welcome to the Bastet sort of review how to rune guide-ish. You probably arrived here because one, you have received the Bastet event on the global server, or meaning that EU, Asia, Japan, or there's option 2, you most likely has received a Nat 5 ticket, and since where is she? Right here. Since she's one of the best choices from that ticket, you are most likely wondering how to rune her, where you can use her, and basically I'm gonna be discussing this in this video. I previously did a how to use Bastet, I believe, but that was like 4 months ago, and a lot of new content has been released. A lot of new strategies, let's say, have been released. A few new runes, which might not be on global yet, but I will mention them regardless. So yeah, I'm just making an updated guide because first of all, I have way more experience using her than I had when I was making that guide. I think in that guide, I received that unit like 2 or 3 days ago. For now, I've been using her for 4 months, and yes, I've been consistently using her, so she's that good. So I'll just have more of a in-depth explanation on how to use her, where to use her, and stuff like that. So yeah, let's get started with that. Okay, so first of all, we cannot start a guide about Bastet without knowing what she does overall, so I'll quickly read through her skills. So her first attack, really nothing special, just the regular multiplier for all units on the basic attack. The second attack is an AoE attack, and it hits 3 times. The multiplier isn't huge, it's just around 600%, and she has a chance to land attack down level 1 for 20 seconds when max skilled, meaning that since she attacks it 3 times, there's a good chance that you will land either level 2 or level 3 in total. And her third skill is a AoE shield. So first of all, it shields up all allies for 14 seconds, and that shield is equal to 22.1% of her max HP. And she also applies level 2 attack up for 20 seconds to everyone around her. This includes both you and other people who you are raiding with, for example. And if summoner's HP is full, it also increases your mana by 1, meaning that in scenarios where you are using the shield right off the bat, the shield will only cost 3 mana basically. She also has an ultimate which is very similar to her third skill. However, don't focus much on ultimates if you have watched some of my previous videos, because in a lot of fights, ultimates don't even charge up in time by the time the fight is done. And second of all, those ultimates, usually they are better ults than bastets, so I'm not focusing it. Of course, if you get the ult, use it, there's nothing wrong with it, and you do get some decent buffs of level 4 attack as well as the massive shield and increasing your ultimate gauge again. But yeah, mostly I'm gonna be focusing on the first 3 skills, as those you use way more often than the ultimate ability. Okay, and first of all, why is Bastet considered so good? So first of all, the main reason you use Bastet is for her third skill. Usually, in cases where you use Bastet as the only buffer, and you're not using stuff like Konamiya and stuff like that, you will want to run her as a soul link unit, especially in the beginning if you are a little bit weaker in the game. You will want to run her as a soul link unit, and your order settings should be set to this, meaning that, well, ultimate depends on you, but you shouldn't use soul link skill 1 with Bastet, and that should only be reserved for skill 2. The main reason is, first of all, in most of the content where you're using Bastet, this skill will not be useful, and second of all, you do want to maximize on the shields, and if you are using this as a soul link unit, meaning that you're using mana rather than cooldowns to use this ability. As you know, mana skills are on average twice as fast as cooldown skills, meaning that if she wasn't in a soul link slot, she would use the ability every 24 seconds. For mana cost, 4 mana only takes 12 seconds to regen, since once your mana regen is maxed out, which is something you should max. The very first thing that you get is you should max your mana, so first of all the total charge and the regen. And yeah, since mana regens every 3 seconds, you are able to use that ability every 12 seconds, and you are able to upkeep that shield permanently. And the second reason is, of course, we cannot forget the attack up that you get from the skill. Usually, after this event, at least in NA server, what happened was all of the Shannons that were built were pretty much ditched to the storage, and bastets were primarily used in a lot of content like dungeons, raids, and so on and so on. Pretty much once you have a fully built, fully skilled up max stat, Shannon will no longer be useful because mostly you're using her for the attack up. Shannon's defense buff is a nice buff, but usually it's not the buff that you really need for dungeons, especially if you're running them on sort of speedier. You're trying to do damage mostly, you're not trying to survive the boss's attacks. And if you're doing correctly, you shouldn't even be getting hit by most of the attacks. And second of all, that max HP shield is actually sort of a reverse healing, if you can call it. And the reason why is, if you look at the HP scaling here, as you know, shield goes on top of your max HP, meaning that if you have a nuker like, oh, for my example, Karambit, he's sitting at 32,500 HP, meaning that in a regular battle, it takes 32,500 damage to kill him. If you're using a shield, since the shield goes on top of it, you can imagine that killing him will be much more harder. And if I bring up the calculator real quick, we remember that 22.1% of her max HP scaling, I multiply it by 78,000 and... no, not multiply, oh, I'm doing it wrong. There you go, multiply it, and you're left with... no, I did something incorrect. Oh no, I did, okay. So the shield is for 17,350 HP. So if you put that on Karambit, basically since the shield is sort of an additional health bar, if you say so, 32,500 plus another 17,500, this Karambit suddenly has 50,000 HP on him, meaning that the Karambit just became like 60% tankier, and that is an insane boost to any damage dealer, especially the squishier ones. So yes, you can imagine how much that affects most of your teams when you are every 12 seconds able to take another 18,000 damage on it, at least with my runes you're looking at. You may not have as much HP, which is just fine, because in the beginning you will not have really good runes, but trust me, once you build her up, once you skill her up, she will be amazing. And another thing about the Bastet event is, since everyone will have her, it's still beneficial to bring multiple Bastets into raids if you're doing them. The reason for that is because, first of all, you are able to upkeep that shield a little bit more often. Second of all, as you know, attack buff does stack, and you can stack it up to level 10. And if we quickly go to the effect panel, we can select attack up, and you can see that at level 2, the attack up is 54%. It goes down gradually, but still, if you're rocking 3 Bastets, for example, you are able to buff 3 times, and your attack buff suddenly shot up to like 64% at level 6. So yes, multiple Bastets are still really good, and trust me, you will see multiple Bastets for a good month or two. This happened in NA, and I predict the same happening in global as well. And now the last thing, especially if you are farming this unit via an event, is the book entries. As you know, once you get dupes of the same unit, their stats basically become a little bit stronger for that particular unit. As you can see, my Bastet entry has currently a level 10 book on it. With a level 10 book, I am able to get 6,167 bonus HP, as well as 17.1% resistance on her. These are base stats. These stats are not affected by runes or anything like that. Well, I mean, they are affected by runes, but you don't need runes to get that stat. So if you check it right now, even without runes, my Bastet is currently at almost 60,000 HP. Half of that bonus, as you can see here, I have bonuses from various sources. Pretty much almost half of the bonus HP is coming from the book alone, and pretty much over half of the resistance is coming from the book alone. And as you can see, resistance is already at 69%, whereas with other units it's usually sitting at low 20s, low 30s. For this guy, it's already 70%, meaning that the enemies will have a pretty difficult time landing debuffs on you unless they are specifically built for accuracy. And now, where you can use Bastet. So first of all, I want to mention that once you get the Bastet, especially if you're still early on, if you just started either via the global server or even via an NA server, with an NA server, you did get a 5-star ticket where you can get Bastet, so she will be at level 1 most likely, or even level 2 if you have claimed one of the codes which gives like nat 5s. I'm not even sure what the code is, but you should be able to check it through the forums or through the Discord. But if you're from global, this is the reason why I recommend farming the Bastet event as much as possible, because this is a unit that you will use for a very long time. I'm personally still using her. She's like my main support, like main support. And I'm using her in Caiross, I'm using her in Path of Growth, pretty much all of the rune dungeons, every single subjugation, every single one of those Path of Training slime thingies. I'm using her in Expedition, both these, whenever the condition allows it, as well as in Arachne, and I'll try to pop up some gameplay of it, of course, while I'm talking. I'm also using her in raids, and for raids especially, she is really amazing. She's awesome in Foggy Prison, she's amazing in Shadow Castle, she is actually top tier in Boiling Waterfall, because this is a dungeon where you actually have to sustain a small amount of damage over time, and with a Bastet shield getting buffed every few seconds, this allows you to not take damage at all. You cannot use her in Twisted Marsh, but more on that later. It's pretty sort of later game content, so I'm not talking about that much. In Rupture, of course, you can use it in both dungeons. I use it personally myself as well. Can't use in Seal, but that's a whole another different topic as well. Another great thing I love about her is that in Challenge Arena, not only is she a good unit to use overall, but as you know, there is this thing called the Quick Battle. The Quick Battle allows you to quickly end the fight if your power is significantly higher than the opponent's power. I'm not actually sure of the limit, but it's somewhere in like the 25 to 30% higher power. I know that at my current power of just over 500,000, I'm able to beat opponents at like 350,000. I didn't do the exact calculations, but that really doesn't matter for me too much. What I wanted to mention is that if you have farmed a lot of Bastets, and this is another great reason why you should farm a lot of Bastets, the more Bastets you farm, the higher book entries you will be able to achieve, as well as awaken her to level 15. And those awakenings to level 15 combined with the higher level book entries, especially the ones which give HP, will allow you to have a unit which gets a lot of power, a lot of raw power, especially since she's built on purely HP most of the time, and HP, if you didn't know, is by far the highest stat that converts to power, meaning that a rune with, for example, 50% HP will give more power than a rune with 50% attack, 50% defense, yada yada yada. So yeah, since she is fully tanky usually, her book gives HP, you will have a lot of awakening levels. She is able to output that insanely high power. For me, as you can see, I found like 12 or 13 Bastets during the event, and I'm able to max her at just over 120,000, whereas a unit which I could not awaken fully, I think he's at awakening 11 only, his book power is low, as you can see, usually with the same set, or what's it called, with the same rune set, he would be able to reach like 110,000 at most. So just those alone will already give you like over 10,000 power advantage, allowing you to quick battle a bit easier, allowing you to reach those dungeon bonuses a bit easier, and meaning that you can get the power bonus. With the power bonus, you deal increased damage, you take less damage, and making the runs way more easier. And now, after using her quite a bit, I've picked out most of the best, I guess, sets that you could use her. The note about sets is, first of all, for Bastet, she usually is built tanky, meaning that the sets you use are pretty much all sets of 2. And the main ones I recommend are the energy set, meaning that for more raw healing power, You can pop a few endure sets for resistance, which will allow her to resist debuffs, resist stuns and stuff like that, and allow you to keep your team alive. If, for example, your team is getting a lot of debuffs, a lot of stuns, she will be the only one not getting stunned, for example, and she will be able to give that shield to protect your team. And another great set is Foresight. This will not give you as much power because Evasion is a very crappy stat for power itself, but as a stats, it could be very useful for Bastet because she will be able to resist those basic attacks. As you know, Evasion allows you to completely dodge a basic attack. It will not be as important for bosses, but it will be important for a lot of attack speed based opponents. So she's another great, this is like another great set for her. Then after those three base sets, I've picked a few decent sets. So first of all, the guard set. It doesn't directly affect her HP, but since she's a tanky unit, getting that extra defense is always useful. And this may not be released in EU yet, I believe, but there is the spare set. However, for the spare set, this means that you cannot use your Bastet as a Soul Link unit, and to make use of the spare set, you will need to put her in one of the other two slots. This is why this is sort of a very edge recommendation, which you should only use for very specific builds, but by the time you get the spare sets, I think you will know how to rune your Bastet more efficiently based on the box that you have. And yeah, one thing about sets is, since most of these sets are sets of 2, you shouldn't really just stick on to just completing 3 of those sets. As you can see, my Bastet is currently rocking 2 guard sets because in the beginning of the game I farmed guard runes a lot, like 50% of my rune farming was for guard runes. So I do have a lot of good ones. The last set is actually broken, but that's because even if I upgrade one of those runes to a set, as well as the rune has really good stats, for example, this rune just simply provides me way higher stats than that other rune could, and even if I equip in Foresight rune with good HP subs, my power still drops, so I'm keeping it with Fatal for now. So yeah, just look mostly at the rune stats, and if you see that the stats are way better than another rune that you would complete this set, I recommend not using that and instead using the broken set for the pure stats. And for the stats themselves, these are the main ones I picked out. So first of all, if you remember her skills, her first skill scales with attack but does not do anything special on her basic attack. Her first charge skill does AoE attack, it scales with attack, but since you're using Bastet as a Soul Link unit majority of the time, I would say, especially in the beginning, runing her for any sort of damage dealing build will not be beneficial. I know people do like to build her on either Rage Blade or Fatal Blade. In my opinion, it's not worth it. The shield you get, especially in the beginning of the game, will help you way more than any sort of damage or quickie attack speed build that you can think of. So, for slots 2, 4 and 6, I do just recommend going for triple HP percent. Make sure the runes aren't flat and they are percentages, because for flat runes, you will get way lower stats on her, especially since her base stats are very high and she also gets Book Awakenings for HP, meaning that percentage stats will boost her insanely high. For substats, if you don't know, substats are these 4 stats below. I do recommend going for, first of all, HP percent, then after, if you're not able to get any more HP percentages, I would recommend these 5 stats or 6 stats in this order. So second best is resistant in my opinion, third best is evasion, then death percentage, accuracy. I mean, accuracy is very stretching it, you should get away with the first 4 that I mentioned. But if you cannot, I do recommend accuracy as the 5th one. And if you're really not able to get any of those 5, also can go for the flat HP and the flat defense. And yeah, with these sets, you will be able to build a very tanky Bastet. She will be able to sustain your units a lot, especially your damage dealers. And that extra power that you get from the books, as well as the extra awakenings, will help you in a lot of dungeons, raids, and so on. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. If you do have any questions, do drop them in the comments. I will be more than happy to answer them. Of course, if you enjoyed, sub for more content like this, because I do put out guides and regular gameplay constantly. And yeah, peace.